Happy Thursday, my LinkedIn friends. So glad to be here with you. Thanks again for being here on this Thursday morning here in the Pacific Northwest. The spring is here, and I am always happy to be here with you and talking about um, LinkedIn, talking about marketing, talking about sales, talking about coaching, lean coaching for lean coaches. For those of you that are out in this world doing this coaching thing, consulting thing, looking to do your own thing, um, I love having these conversations because it's something, number one, I'm just passionate about myself and I love helping and supporting folks in this space, but it's something that I'm constantly learning about. I'm actually always learning. And I was just reading this morning in the Daily Stoic that was like the theme. Like, if you think you know everything, you're going to be on the struggle bus. We have to not only just say that we're curious and we're open to learning, but also practice it. We can't just say that and then, like, when we get behind closed doors, well, I actually do have it all together. So I think this is, hopefully a part of that, um, that I'm continuing to learn through this process with you as we do it. And part of that is you chiming in on the comments and letting me know as we have this conversation today about inbound leads. I think what I hope this conversation can do is spark some conversation, because what I want to offer is some things that have worked to slowly help me with that, but also when things aren't working, what are the things we can do to help us navigate those spaces? So some tips for how to help you think about um, inbound leads, but also when those aren't happening, how can we navigate that space? So if you've got some thoughts on inbound leads, things that have worked for you, things that haven't worked for you, please drop those in the comments. Would love to have a conversation. And if, of course, if you could use this kind of support with your business that you're working to start up as a lean coach or consultant, I'm here to help support you through that process, through the tactics, but also the mindset to help you move through the ups and downs of building that, starting it up, and sustaining it over time. So let's dive in and talk about inbound leads. And so I would just say, as if you've been to any of my conversations here, as we talk about starting up a business, doing lean consulting, um, my framework starts with this phrase, right? I'm not about just the moment. And the mantra that I want to offer to you as you think about this idea of inbound leads, because if you don't adopt this mantra in some way, shape, or form, you are going to find yourself very frustrated over time. Because if you've done or tried to start a business or in the process of doing it, that it's not all daisies and roses, that every day that you're getting 13 inbound leads, people seeking out your services and just falling all over themselves to be able to get your support. Now, you may have the best and greatest thing in sliced bread in the lean space um, since Deming, but you know what? That doesn't mean that people are going to be knocking on your front door, looking to be able to do business and get your support in that. So this framework, play the long game. Play the long game. I think it's one that's helped serve me when I get stuck on a hard day, when it's like, geez, can I get told one more time, please? Please? It's like, all right, Sam, remind yourself you're here to play the long game. I had a moment about 6 months ago when I was on a walk and really struggling with where I was at and being told no multiple times. And then I just had this overwhelming sense of groundedness and peace. And I was like, if I think about how I feel about this in 5 years, if I look down 5 years from now with the work I do in coaching, um, I said, oh, Yeah, I actually feel pretty good about where I'll be in 5 years. Like this long game, even like 5 years, it could be a short period of time. But for me, when I get caught up in the today, if I think about it in terms of 5 years, if I keep doing these things over and over, I feel confident and grounded that things will be in a place where I feel like this is sustainable. Um, and so that really helps ground me, and I hope that can help ground you as you're looking to, start up and launch your own thing, or you're in the process and you're having a hard day, or even if you're having a good day, this can help ground you. And it's like, okay, this day I made X thousand dollars in sales, or I had 3 appointments that were set, or 7 great conversations with folks. It's like, okay, remind yourself, like, this is a long game. And so I'm going to keep showing up. And so the things that I would offer as keys to help you build those opportunities for inbound leads to come in. And I'm not the one to say I've had 13 or 27 or all of these things. I've had a few recently that got me thinking about this and what has been helpful for me in doing that. Because again, I haven't had those like over the last the first 17, 18 months. And so now getting a couple over a week period, it was like, okay, what has helped me as I think back, what has helped contribute to those? And the things that I would say were, especially if you're utilizing LinkedIn as a way to help move you forward in your business, is being a consistent presence on LinkedIn or on whatever platform you're on, being there consistently, offering value consistently. So, especially with your content. So, it's clear, it's concise, and it's consistent. So, if you're not clear about your message, about the people you're looking to support, the problem you're looking to help solve, then that's going to be a challenge. People are going to be like, well, you're nice and all, but I don't know what you're going to be able to help with me with. And if you're not concise, then um, people aren't going to stick around for you and your message. So if your posts are long and drawn out and your messages just kind of rambly and you're not posting on consistently, then people are going to be confused. They're not going to know um, how you can help them and what you can help them with. If you're not able to say, I take you from X to Y, then they're not going to know, like, oh, okay, you help these specific people, but what do you help with? And that's what I see fairly often. You might have identified the people, but you're not clear on where you're taking them from and where you're taking them to, or what's the problem you're helping them solve, what's the pain point you're resolving for them. So again, that clear and concise and consistency in your presence on the platform is so key. And when I say consistent, that means over time. I've been on LinkedIn for 4 years now, being focused intentionally with my business for 18 months. And I found that because of that, people see me as not, oh, he's just fly by night. He's just here for, um, today and gone tomorrow. I know that people have seen me and have built up relationship over time because of that. But what do you think? What do you think in terms of that as a key to being able to get folks come check in with you and say, "Hey, I'd love to have a conversation with you." How do you feel about that consistency and the value of consistency and being able to do that? The other pieces that I would say is making sure that you're connecting with those folks that you're looking to support. So, again, you're clear on who you're looking to support, but then you're connecting with those folks. Of course, you're sending personalized connection requests and you're starting conversation with those folks. So again, you can put your message out there, you can be clear, concise, and consistent. But if you're not actually reaching out to those people and being proactive and building relationship, then when the time is right, they're not going to be raising their hand and saying, "Hey, Sam, like I could really use your help now." Um, that's critical to being able to build those folks that are going to come in and reach out, because if you've built up that relationship, when the time is right, then they'll raise their hand or they'll reach out and say, "Hey, I could really use that support now." So again, being a consistent presence, making sure that you're connecting with those folks and building relationships. So what that means is you're following up with those folks on a regular basis. A part of my pattern is the people that I really have built up a relationship with and know that I can support, and we've had meaningful conversation. Um, I'm constantly following up. Now, I'm not there like every day or every week, but maybe once a month. I'm just checking in, seeing how things are going. And then on top of that, I'm adding value. Hey, I thought of you with this post that came out, or this podcast, or this little thing that someone in the leadership space said, maybe Simon Sinek quote, or something I read about this day, or a podcast where I was on and I shared about this. I thought it'd be relevant to you. And you just share that. And so you're consistently adding value to them. I think that is so key, because you're not just looking to, oh, hey, I'm just looking out to make the sale. It's like, no, I'm looking out for you and want to help you, knowing that you're in this space right now. So, again, you have a consistent presence, that you're connecting with those people that you are seeking to support, and that you're following up with folks and you're adding value to them, and knowing, especially because you know them. So, you're going to add value to them by what you're putting out in the space. So, those are keys. And then that offering support to those folks. Um, you know, if it comes to the point where you're like seeing that they're being challenged, then you're being clear on, okay, would you be open to that conversation? So again, those are keys to me to being able to create the word I'm thinking of is the conditions for inbound leads to be happening. Now, you might be saying to yourself, okay, Sam, those are more outbound. And yes, in a way, I'd agree with you. Like there is those elements. But then if you've had those conversations, maybe the time isn't right for them at that point in time, or you've initiated or you've offered value, all of these pieces, but the time isn't right. So that's where playing the long game comes in. And you're like, okay, if I'm just here for today and I don't get the sale, then that's going to be a problem. But if you're in it for, okay, I see this as a long term vision, that a business that I'm looking to build, a brand I'm looking to build. And if you can be patient with that, and I recognize that that can be a challenge for some folks, um, but if you can set yourself up to where you're slowly building over time, then you're setting yourself up for those conditions for inbound leads to actually be coming in for you. What do you think? What do you think about this? I'd love to hear from you folks. Drop in the comments what your thoughts are on the inbound leads. I know there's a few of you that are here today, and would love to hear from you all. So, on the flip side, when you're building your business, you're looking to build a sustainable business. And of course, we'd all love to have those inbound leads. And ideally, again, you're doing these things, you're being consistent and clear and concise in your messaging. And you're connecting with those folks that you have identified as like, okay, those are the folks that I would love to support. And then you're following up with folks and you're offering support to those folks. And you're still like, you're struggling, you know, so I would say making sure that you have a consistent practice that's helping remind you that this is a long game. And so those practices that I have that help me stay grounded during the challenging days. So I just offer a few thoughts here for you to keep you grounded, and practices that have helped me be able to continue to move forward, because there have been days where I have wanted to throw in the towel and say, okay, well, I know I'm offering value. I know I've got a genuine heart and passion. I know I have the skills and abilities to help people move forward, get unstuck. And So what do you do in that moment when those things aren't working out the way you want them to? And thank you, David. Appreciate that. Nothing sends a stronger message than consistency. And I think that that is such a key that is so undervalued in the world of just business. But I think in lean, we talk about, we have a consistent process that we're following, and that builds trust. I think that that is just so undervalued. If you keep showing up and people know you're there, then they're like, when they're in a hard place, who are they going to reach out to you? Who are they going to reach out to? They're going to be reaching out to the person they know is there, and they're not just a fly by night. What's the word I'm thinking? Like seat of the pants. That's not the word. That's not the phrase I'm looking. I know there's another one, but if they somebody they can trust, and people do business with people, and so they're going to trust that you're going to be there for them um, when they're looking for someone to work with. And Frank, yeah, CCC is essential. Oh yes, I like. I'm all for the alliteration. Absolutely clear, consistent, concise. Yeah, and positive focus and staying grounded mindset from your future. All right, all absolutely. I think that it's so important to have that mindset with a future focus. Right, of course. We're in the moment. We have steps we're doing on a day-to-day basis, and we're showing up. We've got processes and patterns, and we're working on that. But if we have a clear picture of where we're headed to, that helps us when those hard days come. So thank you, David and Frank, and would love to hear from and we all in terms of any thoughts on the things to help that you found that have worked, haven't worked in terms of inbound leads. Because I'm still learning, I'm still figuring it out. I read, I listen to podcasts, I have conversations with folks. I always love learning and finding out how things are working out for folks or what isn't working for other folks. A book that I'm reading right now called Thinking 101 is very interesting in talking about confirmation bias. And if we have a certain way of doing things, um, the way that we can fight against confirmation bias is trying another experiment to disprove it. So I think with some of the things, if things are working, aren't working, like trying other ways of doing things to see how that goes. And so I think that that's an interesting take on maybe doing it in this space as well. Um, so yeah, David, thank you so much here. It's about a discipline, right? Consistency in your practice. Absolutely. Um, and I think too often, as you're saying here, we don't apply it. Like if you're looking to build a business, we don't apply it the same thing. We have random things that we're doing here and there and everywhere. So, and we're human. We all have things that we struggle with in terms of consistency. And I'll raise my hand on that. But I've found um, that the more I can find ways to get that consistency, to have process, um, that can help ground you too. Like when you have I know I have a consistent process every day. I wake up at the same time. I have the routine, and then I have the routine for getting on and posting and following up with folks and having coaching conversations and those sorts of things. So that is absolutely so powerful. That consistency. For others to build the trust, but for yourself to keep you grounded. Yeah, I love businesses that are open the same time every day, right? Like I'm open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, so I know that when I need to go to Target and I have to go get pick up shower gel, like I know that if I go at 9:30, they're going to be open, and the same thing like for us as consultants. Like I want to know that when I reach out to you that you're going to be there. And so again, doing these um, being consistent is so key. So again, I'd say the things to help keep you grounded is your in those hard places. I have a part of my practice is to have a breath work that I do in the morning and the evening that helps me stay grounded and helps me send the messages when I start panicking that I'm like, I'm okay. I have been I've done hard things. I've been brave. and I did it on this day, and that's the proof. And so I can continue to show up. So that is definitely super helpful. Walk it like you talk it. Yeah, thank you, Frank, here to if what you're selling is lean, you need to demonstrate in your behavior alignment with lean principles and practices. Absolutely. So if we're talking about with other folks, um, like, hey, these are the practices you should have, then we need to be working on that as well. And I would just say, too, one of the things on that, Frank, and I'll be sharing this in future conversations here, is making sure that we're also on the flip side, not looking at it as like, oh, we've got to be perfect in this way too. So like practicing what we preach, but also having grace for ourselves in that as well. So thank you, Frank. Absolutely. And Jan Rink, thank you so much. Yeah, the incoming connection request, 90% doesn't seem to respond to my message when they're the ones sending the request. You just gave me the idea to send a follow before I ignore them. Yeah. Uh, um, so if folks are sending you incoming connection requests, that's something where I'm always looking to see, is there going to be a meaningful relationship here? Right. So I used to accept about like 90 to 99% of connection requests that came in. And now I'm way more particular about that, where folks who are sending me connection requests, I'm looking to see, okay, is this someone who's just in marketing and sales and um, whatnot? And if they are, okay, I don't want to completely dismiss that they're just going to sell me a product or service. I mean, if there's a valuable thing that they have or offer, something that resonates for me, I want to be open to that. But at the same time, if I just see that it's something like, okay, then I'm going to not accept that request. I want to be able to add value to them to add value to me. And if that's not going to happen, there's not enough, I don't have enough capacity to do that. And so, absolutely, Jan, having that, proactive, like when you're sending the personalized request, you're asking them, like, you're having a connection point with them wherever you've sent the connection request. Like if you saw them comment something meaningful on another post, or they had their own post that was meaningful, then you're sending out that request and saying, hey, John, saw that we both commented on this and really thought that was like his cool point that he made about XYZ. Would love to connect if that's your sort of thing. And then you can go from there and ask them how things are going with their operations work or whatever, and start a conversation from there. But it's always adding value to that and building a personalized connection. Yeah, never ignore future clients. Yeah, absolutely. We want to be being proactive in looking for folks that we could seek to support. And that's a big part of what I'm doing on a consistent basis. And so there's this idea of the inbound leads, in my view, happen as you do this over time, as you've built trust and with folks, which of course again comes back to the building, being consistent and showing up, being clear and concise about your message and how you help folks, and how and speaking to their pain, not just about you and your great offer, but about like speak to what's their biggest pain point they're having, and really talk to that on a consistent basis, and not about your amazing surface, but like about that, and like then adding value and giving them little tips that can help them with those challenges. And that's what I aim to do on my posts. And then in these sessions is like, these are the pain points that I'm hearing from folks around sales and marketing. So I want to speak to that. I want to practice what I preach. I'm saying, okay, this is what we all need to be doing. And I want to be doing that in these spaces. If these are the spaces, um, then we want to be able to um, deal with these issues. Like for me, I want to be able to address those issues, and that's why I love this conversation that we're having here. Right, like never ignore future clients, and yeah, if you feel like you're talking to a wall, absolutely right. That's where I think a huge part of that is the follow up. Right, if you're actually starting a genuine conversation and they're not, like if you've if they've connected, and then you said, "Hey, how are things going with your work these days?" and they're not following up, then of course you're not going to consistently like send multiple messages. That would not be a good use of your time. Now, on this flip side, if they are replying, then you should be continuing the conversation and moving it forward in a meaningful way. So I think that that's what I see, that most folks, they don't even start that. They don't even start that conversation. They just think, "Oh, well, I connected with them now. They'll see all my wonderful content and it'll all be good." No, 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 no. That's not the way it works, right? You have to be proactive in building that relationship. And so maybe after the questions that I ask would be like, "Okay, how are things with your work?" And if it feels like there's some meaningful content going on there, then it's to the point of, "Okay, well, what's your biggest pain point that you're dealing with right now and moving towards your goals?" And then if they move forward on that, then it's like, "Well, why do you feel like you're having this challenge?" And then if there's continuing, "Okay, well, what sorts of things have you tried?" And then at that point, "Well, I totally hear you. I understand. Would you be open to a conversation?" So, and they may or may not be. At that point, typically folks are ready for that kind of conversation. But that's the process that I go through. And of course, if at any point in time they're not replying, if they've come through a couple of those points, I'm certainly going to follow up with that. But at the very beginning, if they're a brick wall, then it's not like that's not something for me. Like, why would I keep coming back? To your point, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. But if they do engage, then for me, if they engage at any one of those points in a meaningful way, then I'm going to follow up with that and just say, "Hey, hope my last question didn't add any stress. Just out of curiosity, how are you feeling about this, or what about this?" And then, if at that point they're not really responding, then you've got to say, "Okay." And I've got a system, an app that I use that helps remind me when to follow up with those folks. But again, if people aren't engaging with you, then it's important to be able to step back, do these grounding types of things, like have a practice that helps you get grounded, take a deep breath, do the next right thing, do small experiments, be able to celebrate the wins. I have a practice where every day where I write down what were the wins today. Like, I posted, I made an offer, I had a great coaching conversation with so and so. I sent all these follow-up messages. I have a new client, whatever it might be. And sometimes I can get through those really fast. And other times I actually will slow down and reflect, you know what? Like, that was pretty badass. Like, that I stepped out and I made an offer to this person that I never thought I would, but I did it. And I can't control how they respond, or if they say yes or no, but I stepped out and I did it. So, man, this conversation went in a whole different direction than I expected, but I absolutely love it. I loved where this went. Thank you so much to all of you. And let's keep this conversation up. I think that this is such an important um, part of the conversation. I feel like there's so much out there about sales and whatnot, that there's like this magic formula. And I think there are processes we can put into place to do it, but nothing is going to substitute the consistency of continuing to show up, having that clarity and being like concise and being focused on the customer. Hey, there's a fourth one. There's a fourth one there, Frank, like the customer, right? It needs to be focused on them, your ideal client, your customer, and bringing value to them. So we got to keep doing that. That's how we got to keep doing. So if you're in need of that kind of support and help in moving forward on this, I would love to have a conversation and talk about how I could support you in that. So please shoot me a DM with the word leads, and we'll have a conversation. So thanks again. We'll be back on Tuesday with Amanda Young, and I'm excited to support her as she shares where she's at. And it's going to be super, super, super cool. She has got such great energy and a great lean practitioner. You're going to want to be here on Tuesday at this same time. So thanks again to y'all for jumping in the conversation, sharing your perspective, offering your thoughts, asking your questions. Again, please keep them coming, and we will look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Take